It's a good question, and I think it's something that at the beginning, when you write mocks, you feel this.
I can explain it in one sentence, but it will not work in one sentence. So,
So in one sentence, you'll explain the point, right?
yes.
Okay, but in one sentence, you're not applying it to the company and kind of contextualizing the influence or the impact of that point, are you? In one sentence, are you doing that? Like, okay, fine, this particular matter should have been recorded in the risk register, or should have been a strategic risk, because we are revenue dependent, highly revenue dependent. Okay, one sentence, right? You got that point out there.
Yeah.
But with that, you haven't really shown us, or are you just going that step further and saying, in this, like taking information from the unseen, pre-seen, whatever, in this context, we are looking at a situation of hot air having only few house building partners, out of which, whatever, this particular company, PHB or whatever, has contributed this much, and that means their collapse is going to hit our revenue or our top line in a serious way. And the fact that we were not prepared, no, the fact that uh, we were highly dependent means we should have been vigilant about it. We should have kept a check on anything, any factor in the business uh, which drives a high sensitivity, right? Because there are high sensitive factors to a business and low sensitivity factors. So this is because of the dependency, it's highly sensitive. So we should have kept a check on that, and that in itself should have been a reason for us to classify this as a strategic risk. Um, so you get the idea, and it's just one approach. But rather than stopping at explaining the point in one sentence, which is perfect, which feels like, okay, I've done it, right? I've gotten it out there. But really using the scenario and contextualizing it to explain, to illustrate what's going on. So have you tried that? Have you thought about this, or what do you feel about this when I say it?
It does feel that why it didn't strike my mind, because for example, as you said, I did noted that it's a big customer. It's almost contributing 53% of our total revenue. So these points were there and I have made point to it, but the points you said is actually valid, and it backs my main point. This is where I'm struggling, because I can't think of these backing points. I know it's 53%. I know it's the biggest customer. We should have our revenue is mostly dependent on them. If they don't perform, our performance goes down. This is what I can think of. You know, maybe it's about the thinking which I have to develop.
Yeah, thinking, as in, I think this is something that came up with many of you as well, that I might have mentioned that sometimes some of your answers are not strategic. Have I
Yes, yes,
mentioned it
right.
in your case, that some
Yes,
of your answers are like management level
right.
answers? You see, now, how do I explain this? This is what I mean by now, this is the strategic case study, which means we have to be strategic in our thinking and we have to be strategic in our responses. So what does that actually mean? And I think I've clarified it in YouTube videos everywhere. I mean, this is like something I always tell everyone, is that think like a director, think like the owner, even, right? So when you're thinking, like, now, if, see, let's say you're discussing this issue in the boardroom, right, with other directors. So then, mm, okay, let's look at this. Let's say you have like let's say it's your house, okay? At home, you have like the young child in the family, the 10-year-old kid, right? And then you have like the eldest in the family, the 25-year-old, okay, 20-year-old, right? Eldest in the family. And let's say you have the father in the family, right? So between these three people, now the decision of buying a car is being looked at. Okay.
Yeah.
The decision of buying a car. Now, what's the little kid, 10-year kid, going to feel about this? Buying a new car, let's say it's like a Ferrari, whatever, right? What's the little kid going to feel about it?
Nothing much. He will be just happy. He will be happy with any car.
Yeah, happy because I mean, let's say you're shopping around, so there'll be the kid will be more color, look and feel, and just being excited about the prospect of getting something new and getting something so just that, right?
Yes.
The cost and the talk and the whatever, that's not gonna interest. So that's like the operational level, right? In a company, the operational staff, they're hearing that, oh, our company is getting acquired, or we are going to buy this company, or we are going to acquire this company. The operational level staff will be like, sure, okay, right? I come, I do my job at the moment. I mean, that's all I can do. I get told what to do all day. So fine, sure. Or I'll be excited. Oh, right, okay, I belong to a company which is going to acquire another company, so I'm like really excited, right? Even though the member or the staff member has nothing to do with this decision, hasn't even contributed. Okay. So the 20-year-old kid, right? Let's say it's a fellow who is really interested in automotive stuff and all that. So they're probably going to be worried about how's the integrity of the body, how's the chassis, how's the radiator, what's the how many cylinders, how many whatever all the engine, how fast does it go, what's the maximum speed in the meter, like oh, it has like 260 or 280, it's an amazing car. Can we install nitrous oxide or whatever, like speed and look and feel and show off and photos and what I can do with it and how can I drift and all that, the driving experience and all that. So as things go along, okay, getting a little more invested in the decision, thinking at their level. If they are like the little kid won't be able to drive it, but this kid will probably be able to drive it. So they are thinking more about, okay, I've got to drive this. So how does that feel? So that's like the management level, right? Because the management level, even though they are not the decision makers, they will be part of the process. They will have some role to play in what's going on in that decision. The decision, once that decision goes through, they will have they won't have a say in it, but they have direct impact, and they will have work to do with regard to the decision. They will be involved with how that decision affects our business. They might have to change the way they work. They might have to adapt. They might have to lead their team members in a way that is adaptive. So they are involved, but they're not the decision makers. But at the boardroom, like the level of the father, the cost, the safety, right? How safe is it? Whether it's suitable, whether it's suitable to the family, whether it's suitable to long term, right? How long can I use this? What's the second hand market value? Whether it's acceptable, right? I mean, will the wife like it? Will my dad like it? Will my mom like it? Will the neighbor, what's my best friend going to say about it? Right, the costing, the financing, how much is the leasing, can I buy it out of the market, or do I have like literally the same car which has done a few miles outside in the second hand market that I can get for a major discount, things like that. So safety will be a big issue. How's the warranty? What's the service call count? What's the condition of the engine? How should I take care of it? Blah blah blah. What do I know about it? What don't I know about it? How frequently should I need to change this, that, and stuff like that? So that would be like, you see, a whole lot of things. So they'll try to justify all of this, right? They'll try to justify with every factor they are considering. They'll try to come up with a decision. Okay, this is the decision in this factor, safety. Either it's safe or either it's not. But when they decide, let's say it's safe, it means that they will have reasons to it. Okay, it's safe because the airbag was manufactured by these guys, and the seats are German, and the tires are this. Like, we will have justifications to why we decided so. So it's the same thing with this boardroom. In the boardroom, if, for example, if this matter is being discussed, this particular matter, whether the PHB builder collapse should have been foreseen and should have been classified as a strategic risk, then a board member can't say and stop like, look, the revenue was 30% or 50% or whatever, so we should have classified it as a strategic risk. No, the issue is that it's not always only about that. It's with that level, the strategic level, it's everything is always about what happened, but also how it affects our business in the future as well. So when you're looking at something like this, you're saying, look, this is okay, because this already happened as well. So you're looking at this and saying high revenue dependency, serious issue, right? We should have seen this coming. And then you have to try and justify it to say, look, the issue is that we can be highly revenue dependent, right? Okay, fine. But the issue is that this was too sensitive because we had only few players, right? We had only few players. If we have multiple players, if we have multiple engagements, if we have multiple products or builders in the pipeline, wouldn't have mattered. But the problem is that the dependency itself made us very vulnerable in this case, and we should have foreseen it. On the other hand, another person could say, look, our department is, so another board member is saying, look, this is not our department. We are a heat pump manufacturer, gas boiler manufacturer, which means that looking at our partners and clients and their profitability, it's not our job. We have to run a company here. So in such a case, how are we supposed to, look behind the numbers and they could, I mean, no company will try to portray themselves as going to declare bankruptcy or whatever. In this case, just the share price. And they could say, look, the share price decline in itself, if you look at it, it's not something unheard of. I mean, all the time share prices go down. So just because the share price went down, we can't be, worried about the fact that they are going to collapse, because it's a normal phenomena. And, on top of it, there's global recession and inflation. So prices are going down. Even ours has gone down, or whatever you can say. Look at our share price. How many times has it fallen in the last 2 years? So in such a case, saying that share price is the only reason, share price going down should have kind of told us that this company is going to collapse, is a little, it's reaching too far. So another person could justify it that way. That's a negative point. That's a point to defend and say, no, this shouldn't have been classified as a strategic risk. So it's not just stopping at explaining the point, but it's further going one step and clarifying your, or I would use the term illustrate. And I also felt like, when you say exaggerate, and if I literally take that meaning, exaggerate, no, it's not exaggerate. What we need, and I mentioned this last week, we need application. We want you to take that point and we want you to showcase that point, illustrate that point by applying the point into the scenario, which you have to do by writing 2 or 3 sentences or 4 sentences, telling us how does this point play out in the scenario with respect to hot air, with respect to Noland. So that's like that's one of the best tactics to do it. You can use examples, and this is a very effective tactic as well. Some students, right, and it works. We've seen it where examiners have suggested it. You explain the point, right? You say, this is the point, and then you explain it or whatever. And then you say, for example, hot air could have, or hot air in this case did this, or Nest had done this, or whatever, right? For example, or for instance. So you don't like overreach with the hypothetical scenario, but you use an example to illustrate what you're saying. By writing the word, some write for example, some say for instance, and I have included examples like that also in the model answer for you to get a view. So these are, I think, some of the best two tactics to expand your paragraph, to really and to show that you're someone who's thinking about the wider business. And that's the thing about strategic writing, is that little fellow young and father issue or example, that as the father or as the board member, whenever you're thinking something, you're thinking, how does it affect the whole business? How does it affect the long term? What are the implications of it in the long run? So when you think that way, when you try to look far, then you realize that a point doesn't really get explained in one sentence. If you really like, if you talk to board members, right? If you talk to CXO level people, they write little in their emails, right? In their emails, they write little short sentences. They don't like, I know only few who like that, but they talk a lot. Okay. They talk a lot. They explain things for long times. They have a lot to say, right? Very few people I've seen who wouldn't do that. If they have an opportunity, they would talk a lot. So to justify and to bring out their thinking, to show the logic behind their thinking, to show why something they are saying is the right thing, to prove that it's going to affect this business that way, and in 5 years we might see this, in 10 years we might see that. So that is also looking at it from, not from an immediate short term impact perspective, but looking at things from a holistic long term view, is also a doorway to get to find ways to expand your points, to find ways to write more. That's also, I think, a good advice I can give you. So I know that okay, because you have to practice them and you have to write them, but the things I'm saying are illustrated in the model answers. Okay.
Yes.
So now what you have to do is, now I'm telling you what to do, and I'm also showing them to you through the model answers. So for the mocks you've done, you can actually look at the models and see, okay, how is this being done? But does it, beyond that, you have to try. That's the final stage. You have to try and do this more. But having those things apart, like the things that I'm saying, these things as a response to your question, I want to understand if those make sense to you. Like, are you do you agree with me? Is it making sense to you?
It does actually make sense, because as you said, my thinking might be at operational level right now, because I just think that if I am giving a point, that's it for my answer. But justification and backing up my answer is very important. That's where I'm failing. Maybe that's the reason I'm not able to uh, apply what you said. And maybe the other point I would say about my mock one is the application of technical things I have done a lot. I mean, more than using a unseen, because there was a topic, for example, integrated reporting, or there was a topic of acquisition. So I have just used the theoretical knowledge and technical knowledge, whatever I had, and try to manipulate those points into my unseen. That's what I have done, and you have mentioned it correctly. So maybe that's the other point where I have to work on, is not to rely much on technical things. I should use it, but not fully base my answer on that.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. There is no rule saying you can't write technical. You have to, you must. Especially there are questions that really prompt you to use that. You can't answer it well. Like you can't get a level 3 mark without using some of the technicals. But doesn't mean that your entire answer should be based on the technical aspect and there is no mention of or no consideration to the scenario. So that's why I'm saying it's a practical exam. End of the day, it's a practical exam. And when I say that, sometimes people think, oh, okay, practical, right? Makes sense. And you read model exam past papers, and it even makes more sense when I say that, because you look at the past papers and there are even the examiner answers. You realize, oh, okay, right. So sure, right? Only a few paragraphs you'll find that are like based on purely technical. But when you actually try to do that, as long as you're hearing it and as long as you're reading it, things seem like rainbows. Wow, okay, this is easy. But when you start doing it, when you start actually writing it, that's when you start to see a little trouble in paradise, you know?
Yeah.
So that is why I'm like hell bent. Like, trust me, today this exercise I decided it in the last minute that I would send it, because because there are members in our program with tight schedules and for various reasons, right? Even you understand this, all of you understand this, that it's not easy to stick to the mock schedule with your busy schedules and with your work life and academic life and all that. But you also realize, if you've done one mock at least, right, you realize when you look at the feedback, don't you realize how important it is to write?